You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take on your family, your business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money. I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Obviously, it's Halloween time. That's a scary, Halloween is scary enough. That's the idea of Halloween. But boy, having young kids nowadays with all this garbage going on in our world, I think it makes it even scarier. I know I watched a group that we participate in, and last year they have a daycare center where we do our Friday morning meetings. And last year the kids came through the meeting area, and we gave them all candy, and it was a good time and whatnot. And yes, my wife was dressed as a witch, but that's a different story. This year they decided, you know something? They don't want the kids going out trick-or-treating. That they want the parents of all the kids that were in this daycare went to a different parking lot area. I don't know where they went to. And they opened up the trunks of their car, and the kids went around trick-or-treating to the trunks of all the cars because they're worried about what's going on in our world. Isn't that a shame? It sucks. But it is what it is right now.
It is what it is.
It's our choice, though, to make a change. And we're going to talk a lot about making a change. Although we got the elections coming up, and I'll share with you openly, and it's not a partisan issue. I am partisan. It's not a partisan issue, but if you like crime where it is, if you like inflation where it is, if you like gas prices where they are, vote for the incumbents. If you don't like those things, vote for the challengers, because with the incumbents, you know what you're going to get. You've already got it. With the challengers, maybe they'll bring something new to the table. I don't know if they will. I don't know your jurisdiction, but maybe that's the answer. National Caramel Apple Day. Now, when I was growing up, caramel apples, that used to be funny. You can get a caramel apple. Todd, when you were growing up, that was probably the same thing when we were growing way back when in the dark days, right? Caramel apples, that was pretty cool. You get a caramel apple. But now, I'm not sure if it's homemade, if we're going to be eating those things, and somebody goes to a lot of work to make them. But National Caramel Apple, I go down to Balboa Island. There's a place down on Balboa Island that makes some great caramel apples. If you've never gone there, highly, highly recommend checking that out. Let's take a look and see what else is going on in the world. Or do we want to see what else is going on in the world? But the markets, the Dow Jones Industrial Average now down 78 points. A little bit of a volatile morning. S&P 500 is down 20. NASDAQ is down 94. Oil is down $1.45. And yes, let's check it out. California gasoline prices, I don't know. The president said last week that the average around the country is $3.39. I don't know where he's at, but of course, he probably doesn't know where he's at either. But the national average, according to AAA, is $3.76.2. California, we're at $5.56.
Ow!
Josh is at $5 even. Can't break that $5 barrier, Josh. Jody, $4.30 a gallon, and of course, Lori's at $3.30 a gallon of gasoline. And our buddy Todd going to join us in just a minute. He's at $4.33 a gallon. $4.30. He's in America. I guess that must be the issue of why some of these folks are paying lower gas prices than we are here. Let's see what else is going on in the world. Yeah, Twitter went private. Did you see that? Got some Congress people that are really, really worried now because they started doing some legitimate fact checking, and some of the congressional candidates or the candidates for office aren't too happy with fact checking going on from somebody other than their friends. I didn't hear the outrage over Amazon, Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post, but somebody that's not in the hip pocket of the left, they're a little worried. They're talking about, election deniers. Yeah, that would only be Republican election deniers. They don't say that because they don't bring up Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams, the election deniers. It's just the other side of the aisle. They're not happy with that. Just a point of reference right there. But I digress. Let's get back to, maybe we should give away some stuff. Let's talk about some stuff to give away right now. How about the Homebuyers Guide? rsrhbg.com if you're thinking about buying a house. rsrhsg.com if you're thinking about selling. rsrhsg.com. Don't miss out on those guides. If you're contemplating a purchase, those guides have some really, really good information in there. Highly, highly recommend taking a look at those. And even now, where we're in a market where, in some areas, I know Orange County, California, Chapman University said they're forecasting a 12% drop in prices on real estate. Does it matter? What's the worst thing that happens when you buy a house? Well, the average now, if you're moving into it, you're living there for 13 years. Now, I don't know of any time in history, maybe you can correct me, but I don't know of any time in history where real estate values 13 years out have not been higher than they are 13 years earlier. Even at the time of the Great Recession, when property values dropped 19.7%. 10 years later, 6 years later, some areas 3 years later, the property values were all the way back up again. Now, what is the opposite, or what is the consequence of not acting now if you're thinking about buying a piece of property? What's the consequences there? What is the opposite side? Well, you could wait, and if you were thinking about buying a house a year ago, a lot of people were extremely frustrated. I got calls all the time. Ron, I've made 15 offers and haven't been able to get a house yet. Okay, well, wait another year and make 50 and see if you're not there again. Why? Because you're waiting for prices to go down and interest rates to go down. If both of those things happen, guess what? You're going to be right back where you were a year and a half ago. So you're going to be saying, I can't get my offer accepted. The big difference is if you buy now, you've got the offer accepted, interest rates go down, you refinance and you get a lower interest rate. So you take advantage of the lower prices that you would have today. Yeah, maybe they'll drop a little bit, not a lot. I know that Southern California and a few other areas, Miami, and there's a few areas around the country that will probably be hit worse than others. But the bottom line is take action. And if you want me to give you an idea of what that value of your property will be, we look back. Basically, we have a tool that looks back and says, okay, what is the property value done in that area over a period of time using Black Knight resources? And what are the smart people, what are the forecasters saying it's going to be going forward? And we say, okay, what if you bid too much? Even today, What's that going to do for you? What is your break-even period? We'll talk about that. We've got the tool. All you need to do is use the tool that you have in your hand. It's called a telephone. Call us at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. This morning, we're going to chat with Todd Halterman. How do you protect your equity in your house? How do you protect the value of your 401k, which may look like a 201k? How do you protect your asset and bond portfolios? We'll talk about all that and more. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. S&P 500 now down 18.32. 10-year Treasuries back over 4%. It's a 4.033. Mortgage-backed securities are down 27 basis points, which means interest rates are up ever so slightly. And OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, and timely information ever available in the mortgage industry. Why? Because it's calculated from actual locked rates. Locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. Now, this does not tell you how many points somebody paid to get the rates, but conforming loans locked at 6.967 on Friday. The jumbo loan, 6.973. FHA loans locked at 6.801. 30-year USDA loans locked at 6.866, and the best loan on the market for those that earned it. The VA loan locked at 6.70 on Friday. Best loan out there. We appreciate our veterans. The question, though, is why is all of this happening? Well, there's a big issue going on right now, and most people don't understand it, so they won't talk about it. I understand it. I'll talk about it. Well, the issue that we're seeing right now is the fact that there is a larger than normal spread on the mortgage-backed securities. I've told you before that mortgage-backed securities and the 10-year Treasury, they track each other, but they do not set rates for one another. The mortgage-backed securities go on it, trade itself, and 10-year Treasuries trade on their own market. So what is the deal? Why would I be even talking about this then? Well, because generally there's about a 1.75 to 2.0 spread between the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year mortgage rate. So if we're looking at, as I just shared with you, that the 10-year Treasury is at 4.03, well, then we would expect that 30-year mortgage rates to be somewhere between 5.75 and 6. But no, I just got through telling you that OBMMI, which has the 35% market share, is saying that they're at almost 7. Why is that? Why is that happening? What's causing that? Well, it has to do with what the market is predicting for the future, and can the the servicers who need to buy these loans, how long do they anticipate keeping them? And what is the value of the servicing rights? And what does the market see as the value of the bond itself? How long are they going to be able to keep that bond? Because they're anticipating a drop in interest rates. Again, like I've shared that with you before. We also look at the apartment list released, their national rent report showing that rents fell by 0.7% in October. Do you believe it? They're now up 5.9% year over year, which is a significant moderation year over year from 18% last year, which was the fastest year of rent growth on record. Still estimated this year will be the second fastest year of growth. And I'm going to share a little personal information right here, just a little bit of personal information. So I've got a very dear one who just moved out of a 2-bedroom apartment. They were paying, I think, $2,700 or $2,800 a month, $2,800 a month in Anaheim Hills, California. Their lease was up, so they get a renewal saying that they're going to go to $3,050. And they said, adios, we're out of here. Now we see their apartment is now listed for rent, available. You ready for this? 2-bedroom apartment, 2-story, $3,500 a month. $3,500. So are rents going up or are rents going down? You be the judge of it. You tell me what your neighborhood is doing. That is the Mortgage Minute. Get your own mortgage. That way you know that your cost of living only goes one direction, because if it's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it's going to stay the same for 30 years unless interest rates go down and you take advantage of it and lower the rate. Just throw that out there for you. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends over at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And there he is, coming in from what part of the world? Our your friend and mine. I know we've got it here. Welcome back, Todd Halterman. How you doing, buddy?
Man, it's an amazing Monday. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We're trick-or-treating. And, I didn't even think of this until you just said that, Todd. So here it is. If you do absolutely nothing today about your financial future, trick's on you. If you take action, hey, I don't know. I can't guarantee anything. We don't do that on Ron Siegel Radio, but you might have a treat in the next 10, 20, 30 years. So what do you got on your mind today, Todd? I know we talk a lot about protection. Sometimes if you don't lose money, that's just as good as making money, or maybe even better.
Yeah. Well, something to be said about protecting yourself. And we know that the teams that have the best defense win championships.
We don't want to hear about that, Todd. I was watching my Rams yesterday, and I have two teams. I have two football teams that I watch a lot. I watch the Rams and I watch USC. And they both have forgotten anything about defense. I don't think defense is part of their vocabulary. They just, SC feels if they score 100 points a game in football, they should be able to win. They did prove against Utah that if you score 42, it doesn't get you a win.
Right. Well, my Phillies are looking good. They're playing hard defense to keep that small ball going.
You know something, and that was a Gene Mock that was in that world of small ball.
Yeah, baby. One base at a time.
So Phillies, you're watching they don't play today, do they? They play today.
They're going back home to play, so I think they take a day off. But
okay. Well, I think maybe it was yesterday was their day off. Okay, so
yesterday I lose track. Yesterday I was doing chores.
Yeah, well, when you're up there in God's country, every day is Sunday or Saturday or whatever. So, the rest of us are out here working and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
So tell me what's going on. I mean, protection. Let's talk about protecting. Is there a way to protect our 401k or 201k, whatever it might be now?
Yeah, right now everybody's worrying, hey man, how do I position myself when this thing turns around? But boy, I don't want to lose another 10, 15%. And we're hearing that conversation a lot right now. I have to remind people the market standard deviation is almost 20%. So if you're a stock market investor, the markets went up between 55 and 60% from 19 through 21. And it's given back a year of those gains. And that's just a standard deviation that we would expect at any time in the market. Now, with all the
I studied some of this stuff and I don't get it. I'm a simple guy. What is a standard deviation?
That means at any time that you invest in stocks in this stock market, you have to be willing to accept a 20% variance of the price you buy at. That means at any time the market can move 20% down or up. And, in the last week, it's had a nice little technical climb up 4%. In July, it was up 7%. These are signs of how much capital and how much corporations have in profit. Every time we see earnings, we see the market move up, but then we have politics at hand and the Fed and fiscal policies and Russia and Ukraine and all the global macro noise out there, and the market started sliding again. So yes, people are worried about protecting themselves from another dip down.
So if I were to go and see a quality stock, and I'm not going to use any names, we're just going to talk about a quality stock, and I see that it's down 20%, does that mean that might be time for me to start nibbling at the purchasing apple?
Well, your most successful investors buy things when they're on sale. They don't stay at home and freeze and not go shopping. So we have Black Friday coming up, and most of America goes out and does the silly 4 a.m. thing because they want things on sale. But you take the stock market down 20% with very profitable companies, and people run scared. It's counterintuitive, Ron, and right now is the time to be looking for things on sale that are profitable, that are fundamentally supported, and then start trickling your investments in. You can never time the market, but your strategies can be what I call buying things while they're on sale.
So I'm going to throw one at you, Todd, and I know we're not going to recommend anything. Todd doesn't. We don't make any recommendations. We're educating only. So I heard this morning, Todd, that Intel, and again, we're not making any kind of a recommendation, good, bad, or otherwise, but I want to talk about something like an Intel just from an educational standpoint. And you're looking at a stock that's gone down dramatically, and it pays a good dividend. Is that something that you look at, dividend paying and quality of company? Is that something that one would look at if they were thinking about buying?
I think consumers need to look first at the company's strategy for long-term growth and see if they really believe in the logic trail of leadership. The second thing they need to look at with a company like Intel, are they profitable? Do they have current profits? How are their earnings reports been? And then third, what are they spending money on and investing in for the future? And what areas of the world is that going to affect? And what does that do to their anticipated profitability or diversifying Intel's portfolio of business models? And I can tell you on all those merits, Intel's been making some aggressive moves in the energy market and in the semiconductor market, of course, but they are doing some unprecedented activities globally that they're investing in right now that could be monumental over the next 15 years. So yes, but they must be a good business. They must have profits. And if they don't have an economic moat, we don't generally look at them. An economic moat, Ron, is simply looking at companies that have a huge amount of cash on the balance sheet, but they also have a significant competitive advantage in their industry and sector. And we know for a long-standing time, Intel has had a distinct competitive advantage in their industry and sector.
So I want to chat about that just a little bit, because one of the things that I like to look at is probably one of the best buyers of companies in our lifetime. And I would argue that Jack Welch did a great job other than picking his successor. And if you read his book, one of the things he says is pick companies that are number one or number two in their industry. And, and if you're buying 100 shares of stock, or if you're buying 1 share of stock, you're basically buying a company. People don't think about that. They think about, I want to buy stock. And, they think that's something different than buying a company, because so many people nowadays think of buying stock as gambling. Now, if you think that Intel's number one or number two, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you one way or another. I just looked at it and it said a 5.18% dividend. Maybe it's something to dip your toes into. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets, protecting your assets. Todd and I are going to continue the conversation. We're going to protect assets, show you how to protect your equity in real estate. We're going to show you how to talk to you about protecting your portfolio, all that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now,
welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Taking the fear out of saving for a home. If you're planning to buy a home, knowing what to budget for and how to save may sound scary at first, but it doesn't have to be. One way to take the fear out of budgeting is understanding some of the costs you might encounter. And to do that, turn to trusted real estate professionals. They can help you plan your finances and prepare your budget. Here are just a few costs experts say you can expect. Number one, the down payment. Saving for your down payment is likely top of mind as you set out to buy a home. But do you know how much you'll need to save? While each situation is different, there's a common misconception that putting 20% down toward your purchase is required. An article from Mortgage Reports explains why that's not always the case. Quote, the idea that you have to put 20% down on a house is a myth. The right amount depends on your current savings and home buying goals, unquote. To understand your options, partner with a trusted real estate professional to go over the various loan types, down payment assistance programs, and what each one requires. Our team can help you with that. Number two, closing costs. Make sure you also budget for closing costs, which are a collection of fees and payments made to various people involved in your transaction. Bankrate explains, quote, closing costs are the fees you pay when finalizing a real estate transaction, whether you're refinancing a mortgage or buying a new home. These costs can amount to 2 to 5% of the mortgage, so it's important to be financially prepared for this expense, unquote. The best way to understand what you'll need at the closing table is to work with a trusted lender. They can provide you with answers to the questions you might have. Number three, earnest money deposit. If you want to cover all your bases, you can also consider saving for an earnest money deposit. That's abbreviated as EMD. And EMD is the money you pay as a show of good faith when you make an offer on a house. According to Realtor.com, it's usually between 1% and 2% of the total home price. This deposit works like a credit. It's not an added expense. It's paying a portion of your costs up front. You're using some of the money you already saved for your purchase to show the seller you're committed and serious about their house. Realtor.com describes how it works as part of your sale. Quote, tells the real estate seller you're in earnest as a buyer, assuming that all goes well and the buyer's good faith offer is accepted by the seller. The earnest money funds go toward the down payment and closing costs. In effect, Earnest money is just paying more of the down payment and closing costs up front, unquote. Keep in mind, an EMD, earnest money deposit, is not required, and it does not guarantee your offer will be accepted. It's important to work with a real estate advisor to understand what's best for your situation and any specific requirements in your area. They'll help you determine what moves you should make in the home buying process to have the greatest success. Bottom line, budgeting for your home purchase does not have to be scary. Let's connect so you'll have an expert on your side to answer any questions you have along the way. And as I always ask, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or borrow on real estate, can I count on you for that introduction? That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment, again, brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Continue our conversation. Todd Halterman is with us this morning, financial advisor guru. But he's not giving anybody financial advice today. We are here to educate. If you want financial advice from Todd Halterman, give me a call, 800-306-1990. I will put you in touch with him. That's what he does for families, all within the sound of my voice. So, Todd, let's talk about this. Right now, we're seeing the market down, and you've been on with us in the past chatting about different strategies to protect your investments. And I think when you were on last month, you talked about the idea that if somebody has a portfolio and it's structured with some of these vehicles that you talk about, educating, not suggesting, that, you know, if they're protected from downside. But the question I have is, when the market's down as much as it is right now, do we want protection on the downside, or do we want to take maximum advantage of the upside?
Well, a little bit of both. With the news that's out there, whether you're worried about Russia and how they're controlling the commodity and oil market and gas market, or how the European markets are going to get through the winter with the shutdown of supplies and banking. We're just really interested in watching the American dollars stay put for a while until we can see the market turn around. The Fed is going to continue its inflationary cycle and interest rate run. We speculate that second half of next year, they may reduce interest rates a bit and relieve some of the inflationary pressure. And when this does happen, the market's going to turn around quickly. So our smartest investors are playing on some offense, buying things on sale, but doing it with the defensive strategy. So if their timing is poor, they're not adding insult to injury from the last 12 months. So
do you recommend, and would you explain a little bit about dollar cost averaging?
Yeah, simply put, when people are working and they're adding to their 401k on a monthly basis or every time payroll hits, that money's going into their portfolio on a systematic basis and helps them average the timing of when they put their money in. So if the market's going down, their new contributions are going in a lower price. When the market's going up, their new contributions are obviously going in at a higher price. That strategy is called dollar cost averaging, to reduce stress and to increase your opportunity for growing your portfolio. So that's a form of risk management. And people that have cash on the side right now, we're discussing with them how to start using some of that cash to dollar cost average into strong sectors, or companies like Intel we talked about earlier, who have strong signs of an economic moat and growth plans that you may believe in. But that's a good risk management tool right now in this volatile period. And that's one that we use often.
You know, something, and the idea, and you mentioned again, and we talked about this in the last segment. If you missed it, sorry, but you can go back and watch us on ronsiegelradio.com. We have the shows all put up there for you. Is the idea that, you know, you don't know when the right time to get into the market is. And, you know, putting some money in all the time is probably a good idea.
Well, and I had somebody last week come in that had just put $1 million of their retirement money in the market between August and November of last year. And they did it with not our investment firm. And unfortunately, that $1 million right now is sitting at about $860,000, and they just started their first year of retirement. And they're upset. They're unhappy. They're frustrated, and they don't know what to do, and they're paralyzed with fear. So in that case, we are trying to show them how to protect themselves from a second wave of losses, but how to buy and invest in assets that are on sale, but protect their principal over the next 12 months. So if something happens on the down, they're not going to go down from 860,000 any longer. But there is options for people to buy into the S&P 500 index, the NASDAQ, the MSCI, the Russell 2000. There are tools structured out there to protect principal in those index funds, and also have a positive return if the market's negative.
So there's the question then, Todd. I mean, I don't think it matters, what you're getting, where the market is, whether it's up or down. You could be at the top of a cycle or the bottom of a cycle. But if you're in your first year of retirement, you need to have a defensive mindset. Is that right?
Well, yeah, but as the first 2 years of retirement, the sensitive sequence of returns, if you spend 5% of your nest egg and lose 15, that's 20% in 1 year. And let's pretend you spend 5% more the next year and lose 5 more percent. Well, now, Ron, in your first 2 years of retirement, you're down 30%. And that's a normal standard deviation of the market. And that becomes almost unrecoverable at the expected income that they had at retirement.
Now I'm going to throw something out there, especially when you've got a market like this. And I know it's something that you have to really explore with somebody you trust. Here's the issue, because FINRA doesn't like when I say this. So you've got that portfolio that Todd's talking about. He's got $1 million there. And I'm going to throw it out there that you may have $300,000 or $400,000. So Todd just said, okay, you got $1 million out there and you need 50,000 was your living cost, 5% of that $1 million. What happens if you've got, $400,000 or $500,000 in equity in your real estate? What if you go out there and do a reverse mortgage, right? Because now you're taking equity that's earning you zero and living off of that bucket instead of the bucket that's down 20%. Because once that's down 20% and you pull that 5% out, you will never, ever recover that 5% because you pulled it out. So you can use that 5% of living from a reverse mortgage and wait for your portfolio to come back up again. And then if you want, put that 5% back into your mortgage, because reverse mortgage is optional payments if it's structured properly. Just a thought out there. And I know that a lot of regulators don't like the idea of borrowing against real estate. Not exactly sure why. It seems to me it's just another asset, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's about cash. It's about, if Americans don't have reserve cash and savings to supplement their needs for a year, then that is an option for sure. Again, risk management. But we don't advocate doing a reverse mortgage and taking that money, investing it in the market. But we do advocate for doing the reverse mortgage and making sure that you get your debts gone because they're eating you alive and you have income to live on while your portfolios are recovering themselves. So it can be a very effective strategy. And I want to remind investors out there, real estate on average grows at 4% per year. So if you've got $1 million home, that $1 million home is going to grow an average of $40,000 per year. So if an investor has to use 1 year of equity in the home, that means that on average, that equity should grow back in a year or two just through natural inflation. So it's nice to know that you're not going backwards if you've got to survive with home equity. It just means you have to be careful about how you use it and how long you use it.
And that's great advice, Todd, because I know that you don't want to risk that home equity, right? So taking the home equity out and putting it into a Bitcoin, I would say, is probably the dumbest thing anybody could possibly do. And I'm not a financial advisor. I used to be, but I mean, it's dumb. Don't go buying GameStop. right? Because your friend made 3,000% because the next guy lost 3,000%, right? Don't do those things. But you know something, if you have to take a couple points, like Todd just said, to live off of while you let your portfolio do its work. You know, Todd, you've used the analogy, and we'll talk about this when we come back, that, you know, that money that's sitting there in your retirement account or in the stock market or bond market, those are like, yeah, think about all those every dollar. So like the analogy you just used, they had 1 million soldiers out there working for you, right? They took a little bit of a break, so it's down now. But they're going to get back up and they're going to keep on working for you if they're still there. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. More with protecting your profits in a down market with Todd Halterman. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report. 79% of them they say are wrong. I say more like 100% are wrong. What are you doing about it? Have you got the free credit audit? Have you seen the letter that went from Congress to the Fair Credit? The regulators. My mind went blank. Sorry about that. It's Monday, I think. The CFPB talking about that the bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian are not responding the way the law says. Have you seen that letter? I have. Well, they're referring them over there to say, hey, you know something? CFPB, you need to investigate them. And the CFPB answers to nobody. They don't answer to the president. They don't answer to Congress. But, these bureaus, they're going to start having to do some responses. Get that free credit audit, creditsanitizer.com. That's Your Credit Matters segment brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report. It is wrong. What are you doing about it? And hey, don't forget, pay your bills the right way, your credit card bills. I'm still hearing people calling me when they're getting their free credit audit. They have not seen the video, rsrccpayment.com, rsrccpayment.com. Let's continue our conversation with Todd Halterman this morning. We are chatting about protection. Not that kind of protection, you guys. Oh, come on now. Protecting your assets. Now, Todd, back in 2007, right before the real estate market dove, if somebody had followed the guidance that many of us gave, is keep all of your equity out of your property as much as possible. That way, you talk about this moat all the time. If I take a loan out on my house and my house is worth $1 million and I have 80 or 90% encumbrance, okay, if the market drops 20%, I don't have to give that money back that I took out. It's in a separate account with a protected asset like Todd's talking about, or maybe it's just sitting in a treasury bond that's paying 4% right now, but it's protected from downside. That's one of the tools that we can use in real estate. Hey, go and get a home equity line of credit while we expect the market to drop, and take and put that money into treasury bonds. I don't care what it is. Be careful though. Now, there might be options within the 401k and non-qualified arena that Todd can talk to us about. Am I missing something here, Todd? Are there protected assets or ways that I can take and reposition my assets as far as my stocks, my bonds, my 201k or 401k or IRA?
Sure. I'll give you an example of the couple that came in about a week ago that had lost 14% of their retirement account in the first year. The second thing that they didn't do is the person helping them didn't keep much money in reserve in cash to help provide income to them in a down market or help them buy assets in a down market when there's opportunity. And they learned a valuable lesson that, mama can't buy things on sale if she doesn't have cash in her pocket. And so what we did for them was we identified S&P 500 index allocations that they had in large cap value and large cap growth. And Ron, what we simply did is we reallocated those investments into the S&P 500 index program that we recommend to folks that allows them to not only protect their principal on the down, but they get to go up 100% of the market when it goes up to a cap. So their particular situation was they wanted 10% more protection on the down. So that means they don't lose any principal. And then what happens is if their portfolio is down 14%, they're only down 4% because the company that holds this index portfolio covers the first 10.
That's pretty exciting. Now,
well, it is exciting, but that's not the only feature. Here's what they were excited about. If the portfolio in this structured tool is down 10% or less, this person will get all of their principal back and they will make a positive return. So if you want protection on the down and it's 10% down, your principal's protected, but then you also get a positive 10% interest credited to your IRA account. So not only is it protection of principal, it's a positive return after they've lost 14% already.
That's pretty exciting stuff. Now, I don't want to get too specific on it, but can I do that any day that I want to? I buy it today, the market goes down 10% next month. Can I call and say, hey, Todd, I want to cash out of this, or do I have to hold it a certain amount of time?
Well, the things that I do are liquid, which is nice. These liquid instruments can be sold at any time. However, if you want full 10% protection on the down, then you need to hold it 12 months. If you pull it midstream, it's no problem. It's just that it's a pro rata amount of protection on the down if you don't hold it the whole year.
So, speaking as a consumer advocate, what that says to me is these companies are big companies, and they don't get to be big companies by losing a lot. So what they're saying is if you've got a strategic investment, more often than not, if you hold it 12 months, you're going to be fairly safe. Otherwise, they wouldn't make a promise like that. Am I missing something?
Well, they are. And they have to guarantee it based on their fiduciary standards and conduct. So the nice thing for us is if you have somebody that's down 10 to 15% and the market goes down another 8% over the next 12 months, you're lucky if you're just even from here. And unless you have some kind of clairvoyance, your neighbor will not be. But in this situation, if the portfolio is down another 8%, you'll find your account going up 8% to help make up for some of the money you've already lost. A true hedge to a down market, but it is guaranteed. It is a fiduciary guarantee that somebody can have that principal protection, partial downside protection, if you will, but also have the opportunity to make money even if the market's down.
To me, that sounds like, especially if you're a senior, that sounds like a great, great product because, if you get the protection on the downside and you're capped on the upside, who cares about that cap? right? Because the cap is basically saying, and I'm sure it's some high number that you'd be thrilled with if Todd was able to give you a guarantee up front and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm gonna do whatever that cap is as your return next year. And he doesn't do that, right? But if he was able to, you'd probably say, that's a great deal. I'll take that right now. Think about the idea of not having, how many sleepless nights do you have if you're worried about losing money? And if you can go and say, something, I've got protection and I've got a safety net that I'm not going to lose a lot of money, or I'm not going to lose any money, you're going to sleep a whole lot better there. So you've got this product from Todd on that side saying, something, I've got protection. I just shared with you the idea, and I'm a big proponent of a reverse mortgage. I like it so much that my parents were in it for many, many years until they passed. And they thought until their final days that it was a great program. Just because you're looking at both items are called safety nets. And you don't have to count on anybody else to provide your family that safety net. Just throw that out there for you. Todd, we got about a minute left. What else do you got? Any parting thoughts?
Well, and you said a comment about this is a perfect tool for seniors. I just helped a 57-year-old retire from air traffic control work for the federal government. And his number one thing was, listen, I need to grow this, and I don't want to take my money out of the market when I retire, and I need some money for income. So how do I grow my money in this environment and not worry about taking a huge hit? These tools that are available, it used to be, Ron, that we had to use insurance tools that made people lock up their money for 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and the caps were very low. Today, these strategies are completely liquid, which means you can get in and get out. They also, some of them come at no fee. And so there are just some amazing choices right now where investors don't have to paralyze themselves with fear and sit and do nothing. It really is an option to help protect yourself and have upside potential even when your neighbor's losing money.
Beautiful thought. Appreciate that, Todd. Hey, if you haven't had a consultation with Todd, maybe you're missing out. I think you probably are. That's just my opinion, but who am I to say? Just your favorite radio host that I ask all the time. Set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh, who's engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime. 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.